KFDX 3 News at 6.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Daryl Franklin.
And I'm Lauren Linville. The parents of a child who was accidentally shot by a sibling last year are arrested on misdemeanor charges.
Nathan and Veronica Mayers are both charged with making firearms accessible to a child.
According to the arrest affidavit, on July 10th of last year, Wichita Falls police went to the 3900 block of Cynthia Lane for a report of a child who'd been shot. At the hospital, Veronica told police she was cleaning when she heard a pop and her kids screaming. When she ran to the bedroom, she saw her 8-year-old son covered in blood from a chest wound. After her husband Nathan came to the hospital, he said he wanted to speak to an attorney first, but did admit to owning a Glock handgun.
During an interview with their other children at Patsy's house, the 9-year-old said that he and the victim went into their parents' room and found a gun in the dresser. He said they were playing with a gun when he accidentally pulled the trigger. A search warrant was issued and police found a chrome revolver on a nightstand dresser, 2 rifles leaning against the wall, and 2 semi-automatic handguns, one of which is believed to be the firearm that was discharged. The weapons were seized and a bullet, slug, and shell casings were recovered from the scene.
Both parents were freed yesterday afternoon on $2,500 bonds each.
A man with a lengthy criminal record is facing charges after police say he tried to steal a car seat and hit someone with it. Darius Garza is charged with robbery and failure to identify as a fugitive. Yesterday, Wichita Falls police were sent to the 1700 block of 8th Street at Shepherd Falls Apartments for an assault. The caller said a man, later identified as Garza, assaulted her boyfriend. Officers later found Garza sitting on the curb down the street. The victim said that he was installing a camera that overlooks his car when he saw Garza getting into his car. The victim said he went downstairs and told Garza to drop his stuff, but Garza said that he needed it to take care of his daughter. That's when police say Garza picked up the car seat from the victim's vehicle and started swinging it. The victim said Garza hit him with the straps of the car seat and that the outside camera verified that. Garza remains in jail with bonds totaling $102,000.
Well, chances are you're already seeing campaign ads nonstop in the final run-up to the election, likely even before this newscast. With the attack ones ramping up, you'll hear claims that could be misleading or only partially true. And in the race for lieutenant governor, Democrat Mike Collier's pushing back against incumbent Dan Patrick's latest ad, calling it, quote, egregiously false. Monica Madden fact-checks claims made in ads from both sides that you'll be seeing on TV.
The attacks are expected.
Collier wants open borders and to eliminate immigration and customs enforcement.
Tell you, he's not telling the truth.
But Democrat Mike Collier says his opponent's latest ad is completely false.
Mike Collier wants AOC's Green New Deal.
On Tuesday, Collier's attorneys sent a cease and desist letter to broadcasters asking to stop airing this ad. Collier's senior strategist calling it, quote, an egregious betrayal of the public's trust.
We all know that Joe Biden wants open borders? What was that you said?
You don't see a whole lot of daylight.
Mike, those are not my words.
But are any of the claims true? Let's start with this one.
Mike Collier wants to ban new charter schools and stop successful charters from expanding.
False. Collier has called for more transparency and financial oversight of charter schools, but not to stop new ones. And what about some of the claims Collier is making about Patrick?
Dan Patrick put his rich campaign donor friends right there on ERCOT's board, while our energy bills went through the roof.
This is not quite true. While the chair of the ERCOT board has donated hundreds of thousands over the years to Patrick's campaigns, ERCOT board members are appointed by a committee. That 3-person committee, however, is chosen by the governor, lieutenant governor, and Speaker of the House. What is for certain is voters should be cautious about what they're hearing in campaign ads.
They do tend to make outrageous claims. If you feel like it goes too far, it probably does. Also look at the documentation they provide.
We have more fact-checking on other claims and their ads inside the story on our website.
Okay, let's send it over now to Chief Meteorologist Michael Bowling in the Weather Center to talk about these mild temperatures outside before rain possible later this week.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty nice out there right now, and it's going to get a little bit cooler here as we finish off the week, though. Satellite radar, we have nice clear skies here across the region. Not looking for much of any cloud cover here as we go throughout the rest of tonight, but that cloud cover will increase here as we go throughout the day for tomorrow. Current temperature outside is 70 degrees for Wichita Falls, also 70 down towards Dallas-Fort Worth. Really, most of the region here looking like 70s and 60s, all looking fairly fall-like here as we go throughout today. We're just a little bit warmer than we were 24 hours ago. We're going to be pretty similar as we get into the day for tomorrow, just extra cloud cover in the region by this time. Dew points right now in the 30s. We're going to see those dew points a bit higher as we get towards tomorrow, though. Extra moisture in the atmosphere. We'll need that extra moisture as we see showers and storms start to develop by late tomorrow. Great rain chances continue throughout the day on Friday with much cooler temperatures. I'll talk all about that coming up here in a few minutes, guys.
All right, looking forward to that, Michael. Thank you very much.
Well, you may be hearing quite the commotion in downtown Wichita Falls as progress is being made right now on the Kate Apartments in the old Petroleum Building.
Curtis Jackson spoke with building owner Will Kelty. So, Curtis, how far along are they?
Well, guys, when you see the inside, you're going to be blown away. There's entire floors that have been gutted and framed, and it looks nothing like the old eyesore it once was.
This was the most challenging project I've ever had to fund.
When Kelty first came to downtown Wichita Falls, he didn't see eyesores, he saw potential.
7 years ago or so, I fell in love with the downtown area, but it was very vacant, and so I've been sort of on a mission to help revitalize downtown.
And for 4 years, Kelty has been exploring every avenue he can in order to transform this roughly 70-year-old building into upscale apartments. And once the final steps were complete, work began immediately.
I'm hoping as part of our efforts to revitalize downtown that we can bring about another 170 people downtown to live in this community and experience the downtown living.
Construction began back in July in the building that will serve as upscale apartments as well as student housing for those attending MSU Texas, a task that Kelty says isn't easy.
I've never had to jump through so many hoops. I really had to get creative on the financing, and this project would not have happened without a few key players jumping in at the right moments. And those players are with the city of Wichita Falls.
Along with help from the 4B Board and Texas Historical Commission, Kelty says once doors open, the Kate could be crucial to the growth of downtown Wichita Falls.
I fully believe that, with a vibrant downtown, that's going to benefit Wichita Falls in the long run. It's going to encourage kids to come here to go to school. It's going to encourage kids to stay here after school. It's going to encourage other people to start businesses here,
which in turn should have a significant impact on our local economy as well. Now, Kelty says the student housing portion of the Kate, which will be on floors 2 through 5, is expected to open on or before July 12th of 2023. Now, the apartment portion, which will be on floors 6 through 10, should be open on or before April 1st of 2024.
It's exciting to see that building making a comeback.
Oh,
now, that interview with Will, that was inside that building, right?
Yeah, that was inside. I believe we were up on the 10th floor of it.
Wow, it almost looks like a parking garage.
It does.
There.
It looks a little bit, so it shows how solid it is.
Yes.
That concrete.
It is a massive building.
Can't wait to see what that floor looks like one of these days, too. Very neat.
We'll have to go back. Okay, Curtis, thanks so much.
Well, Veterans Day is just over 2 weeks away, and we need your help to honor those who have served.
Yeah, just head over to Texomashomepage.com and click on Veterans Voices under the Community tab, or open your smartphone and scan the QR code on your screen right there. You can see it. Then from there, you'll be given instructions on how to submit the photo of your veteran. Now, this is just a small way that we can give back to those who have given so much.
Well, two worlds collide when one of our morning anchors becomes a WFIC principal today.
Coming up, a look at where Jaron Spohr spent this morning in the world of education.
Tonight on my show on News Nation.
Everyone's talking about last night's Pennsylvania Senate debate. Did it change the race? The one and only Bill O'Reilly is here to give his take. A midterm debrief with one of the best.
Coming up tonight on the show.
Tonight on Dan Abrams Live, Senate candidate John Fetterman's debate performance in the spotlight in his race with Dr. Oz. Isn't it entirely fair to ask, why did his campaign allow him to take this stage at this time? That's tonight on Dan Abrams Live.
You're watching KFDX3 News at 6 with Daryl Franklin, Lauren Linville, weather with Chief Meteorologist Michael Bowling, and sports with Tobin McDuff. Closed captioning on KFDX is sponsored by Hamilton Bryan, the low price leader. Join Tobin McDuff and MJ Baird as they preview the Friday Night Football Game of the Week every Friday at 6 p.m. right here on KFDX3. Sponsored by MSU Texas.
Kitchen and bathroom remodels can be stress-free with Wichita Falls Renovation Group, a locally owned company serving Texoma. From kitchen to bathroom upgrades to complete remodels, Wichita Falls Renovation Group. Exceptional quality, 5-star service.
As a single mom with young kids, I think a lot about their future. And when they grow up, I want them to be able to stay here in Texas. That's why I trust Governor Abbott to protect their future. Greg Abbott is a family man who's honest with a caring heart. He's overcome adversity and never, ever given up. And he wants every child to reach their God-given potential right here in Texas. How do I know so much about Governor Abbott? He's my uncle. I call him Theo Gregg.
Texas, now's the time to custom order your new Ford Expedition and lock in a low rate. Don't miss out. Be the first to place your order and you'll get the Expedition you want the way you want it. This opportunity won't last. Hurry in to your local dealer and order your new Ford Expedition today. Custom order a new 2023 Ford Expedition today and lock in 3.9% financing for 60 months plus $500 bonus cash.
Ford is the best in Texas.
I voted for Kevin Stitt, but I didn't vote to allow foreign investors to buy up our farmland.
I'm a Republican, but I didn't vote for higher utility rates.
I voted for Kevin Stitt, but I didn't vote for taking money away from public schools or his plan that could shut rural schools down.
I'm a Republican, but I didn't vote for our economy to be ranked near the bottom.
I'm a Republican, but I didn't vote for all these damn scandals and for our government to be corrupt.
I'm a Republican, but this year I'll be voting for Joy Hoffmeister.
Welcome home to NBC's Friday Comedy Hour. First, it's the premiere of Lopez versus Lopez.
My nana used to say there's the right way, and then there's the Lopez way, and she would take up her chancla and throw it at you and hit you.
Then, Young Rock returns for an all-new season.
Introduce me to Hulk Hogan.
Eat your vitamins.
Great man, great mustache.
Similar to my mustache.
Dwayne Johnson and George Lopez.
I never lie to you.
That's a lie.
That is a lie.
The Friday Comedy Hour, November 4th on NBC.
Weather on KFDX is brought to you by State Farm auto expert Jeff Rhodes. State Farm, insuring 1 in every 5 cars in the U.S. Now, from KFDX3, Texoma's Weather Authority, with Chief Meteorologist Michael Bowling.
All right, so it's a little warmer than it was yesterday, but still pretty cool when you would step outside like we were talking about.
Yeah.
It feels more like fall.
I mean, it's really a fall-like day. We're right around our averages for this time of year. Pretty similar tomorrow, except for adding a little bit more cloud cover, so we're not going to have the nice sunshine throughout the afternoon. Taking a look outside right now on our Quanta Tower cam. Current temperature is 70 degrees. We have a southeast wind averaging 15 miles per hour. It has been gusting a bit higher than that at times, though, so if you walked outside and you feel like it's a little bit more breezy than that, it has been more breezy than that at times. All right, today's high 74 degrees, so 1 degree above our average of 73. The low this morning was 42 degrees, so 6 degrees below our average of 48. For tomorrow afternoon, we're pretty similar temperature-wise, and once again, we're losing a little bit of that sunshine as we get towards the evening hours for tomorrow. And then Friday, we're not looking for much sunshine at all. It's going to be a really cloudy day with rain in the region and temperatures way back down into the mid-50s. We're still low 60s for Saturday, and then we're back up into the mid-70s as we go into next week, even a little bit above average for this time of year. Now, satellite radar, we just have nice clear skies here across the area for now, but we're still waiting for the next storm system to start to roll into the region. You can see this nice area spin moving through southern Idaho now, moving into northern Utah. That's the center of the low pressure that's making its way down towards the southwest, and you can see the base of the trough here just a little bit further down to the south. That's going to continue to push towards us here as we get towards late tomorrow. That's going to help increase the lift in the atmosphere, giving us some of these better rain chances here as we get towards the end end of the day for tomorrow. Now, futurecast overnight tonight. Clear skies continue until we get into the afternoon, evening hours for tomorrow. Increasing cloud cover throughout the day, mostly cloudy by news time for tomorrow around 5 o'clock. Then we get towards the later evening hours after sunset tomorrow. Showers and storms starting to pop up in the western portions of the area. Then we see more activity as we get into the overnight hours, now showing 2:30, much more activity in the region. And we see more of a line form here, closer to about 5 o'clock in the morning. That line then pushes further off to the east. This forecast model shows some breaks in the precipitation as we go throughout the day on Friday. I think it's going to be a little bit more filled in than this. We're going to continue with showers in the region throughout the day on Friday before it starts to push further off to the east as we go into the night. Now, for the thunderstorms that come through late on Thursday, there is a chance for some brief gusty winds and some small hail. So some brief severe thunderstorms going to be possible there. We will watch for that, but mostly looking for some good rain here. This forecast model showing over 2 inches of rain for Wichita Falls. That might be a little bit high. I think widespread totals 1 to 1.5 inches. A few isolated areas could get up over 2 inches though. But overnight tonight, 47 degrees, clear and cool as we go throughout the night. Tomorrow high 75 degrees with increasing cloud cover throughout the day. Storms come through after sunset with south-southeast winds a bit on the breezy side, gusting up over 25 miles per hour. Here's a 7-day forecast now. Rain very likely throughout the day on Friday with cooler temperatures. We're back into the mid-70s for next week.
Kitchen and bathroom remodels can be stress-free with Wichita Falls Renovation Group, a locally owned company serving Texoma. From kitchen to bathroom upgrades to complete remodels, Wichita Falls Renovation Group. Exceptional quality, 5-star service.
Christmas Magic is back with some exciting events for the ladies and children. VIP preview party on Thursday night. Cookies with Claus on Saturday and Sunday. Cookies and cocktails on Saturday evening. For more information and tickets, visit jlwf.org.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Over the last 2 months, I've traveled to over 100 cities listening to my fellow Texans. They want their kids to get a great education, but without being taught woke policies that divide us. They want a secure border, safe neighborhoods, and a good-paying job. They know that Texas is America's last hope. Texans don't want Joe Biden's America. I'm fighting for you, and I'm fighting for Texas. I'm Dan Patrick, and I ask for your vote.
Luxury Bath of Texoma is celebrating 10 years of providing tub-to-shower conversions in hundreds of homes. If you have one of them, thank you for having confidence in us. If you're thinking of a new bathroom, let us show you why we are the local leaders. Each luxury bath features safe and easy-to-clean materials, adds beauty and value to your home, and comes with our To The Studs guarantee, which assures you we don't just cover up problems, we fix them for good. Trust the local leaders.
Trust Luxury Bath.
The new GMC Sierra. Premium and capable. That's professional grade. Sierra models are arriving weekly at your local GMC dealers. Available for immediate delivery with 0% financing.
See your Red River GMC dealers.
Kevin Stitt and his administration are a danger to rural public schools. I taught for 27 years, and I've never seen a bigger threat. Taking money from our schools and giving it to big city private schools and D.C. politicians instead, robbing our kids of the future they deserve. Let's protect our rural schools, our ag programs, our sports that keep our communities strong. Let's replace Kevin Stitt before he turns out the lights for good.
You're watching KFDX3 News in HD.
This morning, every campus within the WFISD had a new principal.
Yeah, it's part of the WFISD's Principal for a Day program it does in the fall and spring every year. We head to Haynes Northwest Academy, where they may have had a principal that you know.
I'm trading in my desk for an office, but what goes into the day-to-day of being a principal? I'll show you. My first assignment as principal is to show a new student to his classroom. Once we were done with that, it was time to get the layout of the land because every principal needs to know every inch of their campus.
My special education room, my basic classroom, and for example, if I have a student who has some sort of behavior plan or is in special education that needs to work on social skills, this is a room that they will come to work on a social skill with a special education teacher.
My next task as principal is to learn how to do door checks.
Basically, I'll push the door out, make sure that it's coming back in, and then make sure not only when it comes in, it latches here, and then I'll go on the other side and I'll still check just to make sure no one can come and just pull the door open. So once a week I go around and check all the doors just to make sure that they are working.
Then of course I had to do a door check myself, but I wasn't quite as natural at doing it as Principal Brown. After that, I got to sit in on some classrooms to see some amazing teachers at work. Now, these are just a few things I did as principal, but being a principal comes with change on a day-to-day basis.
Depending on what is being thrown at me, it just changes every day. So I may have observation, have to probably go and talk to a student because they're not having a good morning, so try to get them settled and ready for the beginning of the day.
Well, first I'd like to thank the WFISD and Haynes Northwest Academy for letting me be their principal for the day. As you heard, being a principal of a campus, things change all the time. You never know what to expect when you show up to school. There's a lot of work, it's stressful, but ultimately it's rewarding. So for me, I don't know if I can handle all the stress, so I'm going to stick to my other job.
Come on back, Jerry.
Come on back.
Yeah. Well, after being principal, the participants had lunch and they got to share their experiences.
Yeah, they were all very thankful for the opportunity and were impressed with the staff they got to interact with.
You got to do that last year, right?
I did. I actually think I was wearing this exact same dress, and it just reminded me.
But it's probably why you thought of it today.
It is. It was a subconscious thing, I guess. Right. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I did it a couple of years ago, too, and it was an experience. We really enjoyed it. Well, stay with us. Tobin's going to be in next with sports.
Next ET, only we're at home with Bob Saget's widow, Kelly Rizzo.
Be equally thrilled and surprised.
Plus, we're getting in the holiday spirit with our Catherine McPhee and David Foster exclusive.
Next ET. Next ET.
Today at 6:30 on KFDX 3. Proudly presenting this week's hometown hero, Daryl Burns. Daryl graduated from Wichita Falls High School in 2021 and joined the United States Navy soon after. Currently, he's based in San Diego, where he's serving aboard a destroyer. Thank you, Daryl, for your service to our great nation. You are Texoma's hometown hero. Nominate your hometown hero at Texomashomepage.com. Brought to you by Accelerated Interventional Orthopedics and Comanche Nation Entertainment.
Choosing the right vitamins and supplements is confusing. At Amherst Nutrition, we're trained to find the products that meet your needs. Buy from the people who care. Buy local, Texoma.
We've been selected by the Department of Transportation and the FAA as the only tribal government to be involved in some of these emerging aviation pilot initiatives, like the Integration Pilot Program for drones. So to see the Choctaw Nation step out and lead.
Chickasaw Nation Industries and its headquarters is located in Norman, Oklahoma.
We have somewhere in the range of 1,700 employees. We operate in 40 states and typically on federal sites.
All those jobs associated with that overhead of running that significant company is always going to stay in Oklahoma.
But what excites me is that I realize that we have not yet even fully tapped the possibilities. I think it's not only this that we're working with these companies to create the economic opportunities, but being able to work with academic researchers to do the really good science that will save lives and hopefully change the way we live in the future.
Oklahoma thrives together.
It drifts into our lives. Exposing us to risk we never asked for. To some, it may seem harmless, but there's no such thing as safe secondhand smoke.
I'm Kenny Bond from K-Bond Jewelers. Come see our selection of Citizen watches.
Now from KFDX 3, Sports with Tobin McDuff. Game of the Week on KFDX is brought to you by MSU Texas.
The Windthorst Trojans' 5-3 record may not impress you, and those 3 losses really weren't even close. They lost those games by 29, 18, and 33 points, but they haven't lost in the month of October, and they seem to be peaking at the right time. This week, the Trojans travel to Seymour to play the Panthers in our Friday night football game of the week, and head coach Chris Tackett says we've yet to see the best his team can put on the field.
They're getting there, and yeah, we took we took our lumps, and but I think the kids responded to it and they grew, and we're seeing progress, in practice. Practices are getting better, and I think these kids, that they've been around to know, what they have to do, to get better and get to the playoffs.
Windthorst and Seymour meeting at Fair Park Stadium, 7 o'clock Friday night kickoff. We'll have all the highlights and post-game reaction on Friday Night Football at 11:35. Well, you typically schedule homecoming games against teams you are confident you're going to beat. But for Midwestern State, this Saturday is certainly not a gimme game. Western Oregon pays a visit to Memorial Stadium. 3 years ago, MSU fell to the Wolves on the road, 37-22. The 2 teams meet again Saturday night. Both come in with 4-4 records, both with something to prove.
Got a nice running back, a couple good receivers, and they've had 3 really big wins in a row. And so, we got our hands full.
MSU's homecoming game, 7 o'clock Saturday night at Memorial Stadium.
This Silver Star Report on KFDX is brought to you by Royal Tire and Brake and the Ember Shop.
The Dallas Cowboys made a big acquisition to their defense yesterday, and by big I mean 6 foot 3 inches, 340 pounds. The Cowboys acquiring defensive end Jonathan Hankins from the Las Vegas Raiders. Hankins is expected to be used as a run stopper, and they expect him to contribute immediately.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, we've had a chance to watch him, and he's obviously been active and he's been playing. So, the biggest part of change is nomenclature. Once you get comfortable with the nomenclature and the specifics. I mean, conceptually, I don't think he'll have any issues picking up the things how we play here. But it's just getting the timing and the communication down and just make sure we're it's all tied together. So, and you can only find that out in practice.
The Cowboys take on the Chicago Bears Sunday at noon on Texoma's Fox, and the Bears bring in a very run-heavy offense, so Hankins will be needed for that one. And one more update to Texoma's list of state qualifiers in cross country. Bellevue's Grace Martin is heading to state after a 10th place finish at the regional race. And Grace is the first state qualifier from Bellevue since Kayla Henderson finished 10th in the state 20 years ago back in 2002. That will do it for tonight's Look at Sports. We'll see you back here after the break.
Stay informed, stay connected. Follow us on Twitter at Texoma's homepage.
Chevy Silverado. It's got the power you want and the capability you need to do the job, so you can get to the important work. Find new moments, find new roads. Get $1,500 total cash allowance on all 2022 Silverado pickups with a 2.7-liter turbo engine. Plus, now during truck season, get $1,000 accessory allowance toward a new Chevy truck with accessories. Chevy drives Texas. Find new roads.
Take advantage of the scary good savings at Mike Rames Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. Get a multi-point plumbing inspection, check your drains, toilets, and more. Or a 14-point heating system check, plus dryer vent inspection, only $60. Call Mike Graham today. Sale ends October 31st.
The Pecan Shed now offers a wide assortment of pie babies. These 4-inch pies make the perfect individual treat for yourself or bundle them up for a unique gift for others. Stop in and find your favorite flavor this holiday season.
There will always be bumps in the road, but we got guts, America. We got power. We got future. So let's drive on and make the future we want to see together. So stop by your Ford dealer today and claim one of the thousands of new Ford trucks and SUVs on their way.
Custom order select Ford vehicles and lock in 3.9% for 60 months, plus $500 retail order bonus cash. See your best in Texas Ford dealer.